Welcome, everybody. As you all know, my name is April, and my spirits and I together, we are called Austria Sons. Welcome to the Conspiracies podcast. We are in January of 2025, and I wanted to come on here a little bit and chat a little bit about the fires in the Pacific Palisades and Los Angeles, Southern California. As a California native myself from Southern California, this is absolutely devastating. I have friends and people all from California and extended family members that are working down there. And I wanted to come on here and just chat a little bit about it, about what my spirits have to say about this. And I want to kind of go back to, I've been receiving a lot of DMs and messages from clients of things I've stated about the Maui fires. When I did a live reading on the Maui fires, um, one of my clients had sent me a message, and I had posted it on Instagram for those that follow me on Instagram. Thank you. But she was like, April, you already talked about this. And as a matter of fact, you talked to us about this at the beginning of the year or like late last year, something like this. Um, when was the fires in Maui?
Fires in Maui. I'll look it up right now. It's been a
Because
year,
she
I know
was
that.
saying, one of my clients, and she's a friend, she sent me a message and she was like, April, you were talking about, and I'll read the message. Let me just read the message here.
It's August of 2023.
Yeah, because she said it was like at the end of the year. So we just moved into 2025. So, and I was tripping out because I often forget what I say. And she writes here, she goes, hello, my friend. I hope you're doing well. She's like, you're probably overwhelmed in messages, but I do remember you said about the coastal areas that would be a target after the Maui fires and the winds. You did mention this. She says, like, I feel because nobody's seen winds like this ever. The insurance companies are responsible for a lot of the homes in the Palisades, excuse me, and they were ironically canceled all their homeowners policies 4 months before this tragedy happened. And she says, you called this last year or at the beginning of this year. You said the coastal properties would be for the rich only. And now these people have their policies canceled, will probably not be able to rebuild and will be forced out. She goes, you were absolutely right about some of these things. I was so happy that you were able to move. I recently left California because my spirits had told me, so she is right. They told me to leave California before 2025, and it was non-negotiable. And as much as I didn't want to because California is home to me, I left. I also have some other things that I had foreseen for California that I didn't want any part of it. So I had dreamt the future. I had seen some things. I said, yeah, I'm out of here. Like, I'm done. Earthquakes number one, and the sea coming in a little bit. So I said, yeah, I don't have any interest in being a part of that. I knew it would be chaos. I knew it would be a disaster. Um, and so that being said, just moving into this reading a little bit, I do want to talk about the astrology that's been going on um around this time. I mean, today's the 8th of January. It's the 8th, right?
Yeah, it is. It is right now.
Okay. January 8th, 2025. Um right now we got some stuff going on with astrology because it's like, what is going on? So I like to look at a little bit of the astrology, so I'll share what I do know. So the north node of destiny is at 0 degrees in Aries right now, okay? And it's forming into what they call like a sextile, and it's a strong aspect of Pluto in Aquarius. So there's a lot of this air and fire elemental. So this is like big Plutonian destructions, the winds. Um, I mean, not everything has everything to do with astrology, but I'd like to incorporate that because it just seems like this is amplified. I mean, the North Node is in fire of Aries, okay, and that's like sparks, flame, which is very Aries like. And then here's the ticker on this. Mars is at 29 degrees of Cancer. That's an anaretic degree. It's like fate, destiny. and Mars is actually going backwards because the retrograde, which makes this kind of whole thing, like all the fires and everything, difficult to contain these flames. So, and that air fire energy, you know what I mean? It's just like I said, it's like so Plutonian destruction, all of that. But here's the thing, immediately when I saw these fires, I immediately thought of Maui, and I said, "My God, they're setting this up. They're setting this up. They're doing this on purpose." And then my spirits went from that, and then they said, "Where's Newsom and all his lobbyist friends?" So I'm just saying this because it's like that's exactly what I heard, and I thought, because my spirits, they're a little edgy. So, and I heard that Newsom isn't even in town. Did you hear about that?
I did see him in town. He came down because I guess Biden was actually in town. The LA mayor Karen Bass was out of country though. She was in, I think, Africa
Someone
for
said he
some.
was, but wasn't he out of town yesterday? Newsom?
Yesterday I think he got into town this today. I'll have to look
But
into it, but I'm
how
pretty
can
sure.
listen, but my point is to this is how convenient does that have to be? So he was gone when all this was starting, and then now he's coming back in acting like he's the savior.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems a little odd to me. It all seems a little odd to me. Had like kind of had the feel of Lahaina.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that I didn't know I said all this. I did the reading on Maui fires and stuff, and um I remember getting shadow banned at one point when I was on Instagram, and so I had taken over like a lot of the talk and recordings to my clients, and I told them hey, this is what's going on. And don't be surprised if they try to come after the West Coast and California. And then that's when she messaged me today, and I posted on Instagram because I forgot I said all that. See, I say things in like it comes in waves of downloads, and then I just start spouting off. And that's why I like recording these things now, because it's like it to go back to it and reference it's really nice. It's like, "Oh, I did say that." And Spirit was right. So it's like, and here we are. But the one of the second things I thought of, as I was looking at the areas, because I have some extended family members that are down there and work down there, and they were explaining to me that it looks like kind of like a ring of fire. It's coming from all areas, how, conveniently. And even they were suspicious. They said there's something odd about this. The reservoirs are empty, and Newsom clearly could have handled that. He could have, like, we had some rains, I think last year.
Well, they
But
pulled a ton of money from the fire departments too, like something like sum of like $17 million. It's like it's one of the biggest deductions from any of, like, say, like the LAPD. They got like a bunch of money dumped into them, and other agencies had money dumped into them. The fire department had the most taken away, and then apparently the reservoirs and the water tanks weren't filled for some reason. When they knew it was going to be a high wind problem, that should have instantly, like, they should have been dealt with immediately. Those should have been, like, already, like, activated.
very suspicious. And
Yeah.
also keep in mind, they were asking the people that were in the traffic trying to get out to abandon their cars, which clearly that was a problem because it blocked the roads from the firefighters to get up the roads to put the fires out. So they couldn't even get up the road, excuse me. um they had to bulldoze the cars out of the way with those big operating machines, and they have footage of all that, and it's like that is also suspicious. It mirrors a lot of the Maui stuff, what they did to them too, all the traffic in the cars. Very odd. This to me, from what Spirit told me, is a 15-minute city preparation plan. It's a setup, and they deliberately left the reservoirs dry, and I still do not I find it so strange that they would tell these people to abandon their cars so the fire trucks can't get up there. And it's also been said that the fire hydrants have no water in them. They shut the water off. Did you hear that?
Well, I heard that there's no water pressure because they didn't fill the reservoirs in the tanks. I mean, if there's no
So do
water
you
in the
think that's
tanks, they can't feed the fire hydrants because it all gets fed from like the municipalities, anyways. From like the local water system is all fed through the same thing. So the local water system feeds your fire hydrants. So water tanks up above or reservoirs feed the tanks. Tanks feed the people like the water lines basically to your home, but they also feed your fire hydrants. And if you don't get water to those, like you're screwed. So if there's no water in the tanks, there's not going to be any water pressure. Then basically they're trying to pump whatever they have that's inside the fire trucks. They have, and after that they're done. So basically they don't carry that much water.
wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad setup. And it
All
could have been
these people.
easily like fixed, but they and also there's another fire starting up right now, I guess, in Hollywood. Like in the Hollywood Hills near the Hollywood sign.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard about that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild right now.
Yeah, it's just I feel what they're doing is they're pulling this 15-minute city plan. I'm gonna back my spirits up on that. I feel like they're prepping it. And they're purposely causing the destruction so they can, they can prepare this plan. As you guys all know, Los Angeles has a lot of underground tunnels. I'm sure you guys have seen all the TikTok stuff, um and they're utilizing them now, but they want to build these underground cities. And so they're trying to um create the fancier locations and leave them for the rich, which is what I stated, and which is what I talked about with the Maui fires. I said it's coming towards the West Coast. They're going to bring this theme to the West Coast. And so here we are. And so I'll back my spirits up. If they call it, I will back them up. And I do truly believe that they're going to keep the 15-minute cities for the people that they consider, whatever they think of us, middle class. If there's anything left of the middle class, if we don't get some things squared away, the peasants, they call whatever they think of us. They're trying to create this whole system of what they want in this 15-minute city plan, the smart cities. So, and this is why I think they're working on this. And I think it was brought up when the Maui fires happened that they had this arrangement and plan with that governor who is an Aquarius, mind you. And I did bring up Aquariuses in my reading for the Maui fires. I said, who's the Aquarius? Oprah's an Aquarius. The governor of Hawaii is an Aquarius. Look it up. And he was getting ready for the first plan for the 15-minute cities. And the rich want all the frontline property. They want that property. They want the land, right? They want the land grab. So they want the fancier areas and they want to keep the other people um in these like tighter 15-minute cities for them to have their privileges, and that's what they're aiming for.
Well, I know they
So,
also like to like just steal the land up and snatch them up for resorts too.
of
And
course.
that front property like in Malibu and that area, you have some really beautiful places and landscapes. And they would love to put resorts in there and steal that land up for cheap. So if somebody says like somebody's in their 90s and they lose their insurance and they don't have the money to recover that, somebody will come in and buy them out and then start building in that area.
Yeah, that's what they were saying, that these people I guess from, I don't know what insurance company it was called that was doing this, but they had the fire insurance and they canceled them like 4 months conveniently before these fires happened. I mean,
Yeah.
get the hell out of here. Like,
Yeah, I'm
it's
not
so
sure
stupid.
which one it is, but I'm familiar with like I've heard it before, and I've actually have known people in my family that have had issues with these insurance companies.
Now, they were talking about the insurance companies trying to clear out. Did you hear about this in 2023? They were starting to clear out. like move out of California, or like they were, I don't know exactly what you would call this, but they were either canceling the insurances, or they were
Yeah, they're
they're
canceling
stop.
subscriptions to insurance, but, like, I know it happened to one of my family members. They were trying to get rid of, not earthquake insurance, but fire insurance, and that was, like, over the summer. I won't say
Oh,
which insurance it is, but I know for a fact it has happened to one of my family members.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought it was other insurances for like earthquakes and things like that. It's like they
Well, I'm
knew,
sure. I wouldn't
yeah,
be surprised at all.
they knew something was coming. I mean, this is like, you know what I mean? And that's where people started getting suspicious. Like, why is everybody, shutting down these insurances all of a sudden for California? And that's kind of cue for me. I remember when I was hearing about this, like when my spirits asked me to leave before 2025 from Southern California, that was cue for me, like, okay, it's time to go. I mean, there's something wonky coming here, and I don't want to be a part of it. Besides the premonition dreams I was having, I saw the sea come in. I had some really rough dreams, and listen, I don't ever want to see that. I don't ever want to be in something like that. And it was scary enough for me to go, yeah, I think it's time for me to go. I saw the
Well, what did your
water come.
spirits show you for the sea? Like, where do they show you coming
So
in at,
I
or like
I I'm
whereabouts?
from Southern California, and I lived at one point on the fourth floor where I was. Okay. And I saw the sea water. I was in a coastal city, okay, where I was living, and the sea came into my fourth floor, and the water was coming into the balcony, into my balcony door, and I saw seaweed and stuff. What really freaked me out though is when I came to go and inspect, I got out of the building, and I was coming down the balcony, like somehow getting out of the balcony area, and I'm thinking, because I couldn't get down through the elevators, and I was pretty scared. I was like, this is just not something I ever want to see with my own solid eyeballs. Like, I just was like, I don't ever want to feel like this. And if somehow I'm escaping out from the balcony area, and then I'm looking at the fish as the water was sort of receding at that point. And I look down at the fish, and they're bent. They look like they're kind of they don't look like they're dead like a flatfish. It looked like it was kind of like bent. And they
Like
were like
rigor mortis, like bent
yeah, they
sideways,
were
or
literally like petrified, like a bent fish, like it looked like a horseshoe. They were all like messed up like that. It looked like there was an impact that created that, which kind of bothered me too, because this lady in my ear, I don't know if she was a spirit or an actual human being, okay? But it felt like she was alive, and like, but she kind of looked like she was coming in and out like a hologram. And she whispers in my ear and she goes, they're going to say, what happened to the fish? It's gonna be so bad, they're gonna say, "What it happened to the fish?" Like, why would the fish look like that? It's not a normal tsunami or something, it was, like, something odd. Like, and I woke up in sweat, and I kept thinking, "Did something blow up in the ocean, and then it kinda brought the fish in and made the fish look, like, bent like that because they were
well,
hit
certain
by something?"
militaries like Russia, China. I know Russia has the capability of it. They developed it like maybe 20 years ago, maybe 30. They were working on blowing up like nuclear weapons under the water and creating massive tidal waves and tsunamis. And they were doing, I know they're doing that. And I'm pretty sure the United States has been working on it also. And I'm pretty sure China's done it also. I wouldn't be surprised. It's kind of been well-known technology through, you know,
Okay.
yeah, through
Wow.
Russia for a long time.
Yeah, that's the feeling I had. I was like, because it didn't seem like, you would think like a tsunami would come in, and or an earthquake would cause it, but it was sort of like, it just felt like something was odd about the way the fish looked, and I said, my god, I think they've been blown up, like something blew up in the sea or near the shoreline and brought the water in. um
Now, did it look
but
like a tidal wave, or did it look like the water just flooded in?
it flooded in. I don't think it was a wave, it just kind of just flooded in. So it kind of, I thought that's where the confusion was. But when my spirits mentioned something about the fish, and then I looked down and saw the fish and then how they were bent like that, like a horseshoe. Like they didn't look flat, like you'd go to a market and buy yourself a whole fish. It looked like something, like they were just bent, and they looked like something just froze them in that position. And
Like a
that's what was
shockwave.
odd. Yes, and like, and my spirits clearly mentioned that to me, or someone looked like they were, I thought they were real at first, but then I'm like, no, this is a deceased person, like a spirit telling me this. And then when I woke up, I that was the last dream I had, and it was right before I moved. I said, "Yeah, I'm getting the hell out of here. Like I don't want to see this. I don't want nothing to do with it." And I'm not going to say where I lived, but I was definitely in a beach city living on the fourth floor. And I mean, I could have easily been like, I don't know. I was like 20, I think it was like 10, 20 miles in, near the freeway. So I was like thinking to myself, like, if it took, so that means it needed time to kind of get up towards the freeway. And I'm pretty inland. I wasn't like right on the coast, but I was like, this is just really freaking me out. And then we had that big earthquake. You remember that? I think it was, but then Japan got hit, but I felt it was coming for California. And for some reason, it didn't hit California. It hit Japan at the first of the year of 2024. So it's like, and when my spirits were talking about this, they're saying something prevented this earthquake from not happening in Southern California. Like spiritually, something stopped it. It could have been prayer, it could have been people, it could have been healers, could have been something like this. Because I feel like what happened in Japan, I think it was like an 8 pointer or something. I think it was meant for Southern California. And Spirit says, you need to get out because there is going to be a big one coming and you don't want to be here for it. And so I kept getting a summer energy around this earthquake. Now, I pray that I'm wrong when I say things like this. I always pray that I'm wrong. I'm like, please, God, don't let this happen. But I can't help it. I feel like I'm getting either June, July, August connection to some kind of rumble of an earthquake on the West Coast. And I feel like this is going to be a trigger or chain of events because I'm seeing volcano eruptions. Spirit showed me this, and then this could trigger some earthquakes throughout the world. So we're going to see a lot of that coming up here. And but Southern California, I just feel there is a earthquake that may happen in 2025, 2026, somewhere in here. Maybe if anything 2027, but I was assuming from what Spirit was showing me, there very likely could be a 2025 connection. I've mentioned this before. I believe I've said this. Did I not? I could have sworn I said this before.
I believe you talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and when this does happen, I'm getting the feeling that it's like a summer energy, like it's like June, July, August, something like this.
Yeah, you've definitely said that before. I know yeah, I remember you have for a fact. You said summer, you said around June probably.
Yeah, there's a connection like that. So for those that are listening, just take note of that. But I do see that there's going to be some earthquakes and volcano eruptions over like Indonesia, Philippines. I think there was one already in Indonesia, but I'm getting a Philippines connection as well. Those areas over there. There's also going to be volcanic eruptions in other places too, but I have to sit with it a little bit more and channel that. But I do know that it's on its way. There's some stuff like this coming. Um, but I feel like this was a very calculated, going back to Los Angeles and the fires, this very calculated and very well thought out plan for them. They certainly did a very fine job causing plenty of destruction. The astrology behind it clearly makes sense. We got the air energy and the fire elementals. We got the plutonian destruction just based upon, this Pluto's in Aquarius now. We got the north nodes of destiny at 0 degrees. You know, moving into areas that's like the spark and the flame, and then Mars and Cancer at 29 degrees. It's like, you got to be kidding me. It's the timing of this is just
Well, it just seemed like a perfect time with the weather in general. I mean, they had extremely high gusts of wind coming from, you know,
the Santa Anas.
yeah, the Santa
Yeah.
Ana weather. So it seemed like it was a perfect timing. And then the water being low because we kind of been in a drought year too, but not just that. It's just the fact that they didn't fill up the reservoirs. They've had plenty of water. They could have pumped water in there. They could have found it from other resources too, and they didn't do it. And the fact that everything was just dry and it just went up like a bundle of sticks.
Is there any way we can find out if Newsom's house got burned? Because I heard all the celebrities,
I don't
like,
think he has a house in the area. He's up in Sacramento.
I could have sworn he bought a gazillion-dollar house. It was
No, he
just,
just bought a new, I think, $7 or $13 million home up in Sacramento, I believe. I could have swore. I'll
oh,
double
okay.
check though. Let me look.
Yeah, I heard, Paris Hilton's got house got hit. Spencer and his wife, their house is destroyed. A lot of people's, homes were destroyed and they had to evacuate, unfortunately. Um, what's really devastating is the elderly, and of course, we have animals that are trapped. Horses they had to bring out, Malibu destroyed, like, all the homes that are near the shore. I mean, these are like $1,000,000 homes. Just absolutely devastating. And it's a beautiful area. I mean, just driving down PCH, I have memories of just, I mean, the view, it's just unbelievably gorgeous. It's like you just can't even fathom like that something like this could happen. But um I'm gonna lean into what my spirit says, and they keep reiterating at the 15-minute city plan, the smart cities. I feel like there's a lot of that behind it. They're planning to rearrange some things over there.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom bought a $9 million home in Marin County, California. It's up near San Francisco. It's in Kentfield, I believe.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my spirits call him the lobbyist, or he's with the lobbyist people, the friends.
Well, they make money that way. They all feed off each other, so they do each
These
other a
are my
favor, and then
spirits. Yeah,
yeah.
they're pretty sharp. I'm like, "What?" They're like,
We
"Ooh,
all
the
know there's no
lobbyist."
corruption in our government, so whatsoever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. They're pure souls, I'm sure. Anyway, but I mean, this is pretty much what I got, for these fires. And I didn't know about the water pressure because I thought that was a deliberate thing, but I didn't know about the water pressure because the reservoirs were empty. There's no pressure
Yeah,
control.
it basically your house lines feed they're all fed through the same system. It's extremely rare when a fire hydrant is directly fed. It's, like, extremely rare. If it's so, it's probably, like, a pressurized thing where it might be too much water pressure, so they have to, like, turn that line, like, actually put like, an actual, like, booster on it or do something, like, to slow the water down. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I heard there was a school that was burned down too. Did you hear about that?
Oh, there's a school, there's all kinds of stuff going on. There's, like it's a lot. A lot's been burned down. Was it, like, 20,000 some square acres? Like that?
Something like
I
that.
think.
And then the winds, I don't know how many miles an hour were the winds going because I saw the
They said
winds.
up to 100. On average, I think it was, like, 30 to 40, though.
Now that's unbelievably strange for that type of speed. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
Like
it
I
doesn't
understand
happen too
like
often, that's for sure.
yeah, it doesn't add up. It's like it's unbelievably odd. Like just not, just very suspicious to some degree, and I don't know. The same thing happened in Maui. Remember the winds picked up? Remember all that?
Well, they had a wild storm supposedly that somehow it nailed the power lines and none of the water was working in the town, like, kinda fishy like this, and started a bunch of fires and killed, like, 102 people or something like that, I wanna say, somewhere around there.
And they sent the children home. Um,
Yeah, they
but
sent them
but
home when the fires happened, and most of them passed away in the homes.
Right, but they did that on purpose, so there would be no people inheriting the home, so there'd be nobody to fight them
Yes.
back if the rich wanted to take it up. They did it on purpose. I told my clients this. They unfortunately did it on purpose because if there were children that survived it, they would have been heirs to the heirs, or how do you say it?
Heirs,
Heirs
yeah.
or yeah, to the
The
property
property.
itself. And so and then if they're not there, there's nobody to inherit it, and then they could just go in and just take the land. Unfortunately, it's awful. So one of the other things, the last things I want to say is Spirit was showing me and reminding me, because then I did see it in a video. Something flashed from the sky. Did you see that in
I
Las?
have not seen it.
Okay, it kind of looks like this, like little, um, it's like a little lightning bolt of like fire, or like a almost like you're seeing a bullet just go past you, like, but quite fast. And it looked like like almost like a firework that went off or something.
And it was like, was it throwing sparks or was it
It
shooting
was like, how you would just see like a firework go off and it kind of streaks across the
Yeah, but,
sky.
like, those where, like, the sparks should like, going to the ground, like, is that what you think were
It was
starting the
going
fires?
right to where, yeah, it was going right to where the brush is, and it was like creating more fire. And I'm thinking to myself, like,
Like,
I
when you
remember
shoot a Roman
thinking, like,
candle or something like that, and you can see, like, the
yes, there we
sparks
go.
flying off
Thank
the
you.
side of it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they were showing me. And so I had seen this, and then there's this guy I follow on Instagram. He's really good. It's like some I forget the name of his Instagram. Anyway, um, but he actually caught footage of this from somebody. He got it from somebody and they showed it. I said, that's exactly what Spirit showed me. Was this, like, it looked like a Roman candle going off, like, like something kind of zipping by. And I'm wondering if they were utilizing the winds as a tool to kind of create this whole destruction on
Yeah, that
purpose.
makes sense. I mean, that's exactly what happened in Lahaina. The storm was picking up the wind so bad, it just basically became a firestorm because it was fueling the fire so well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's all kind of mirroring each other. It's all making sense. And what they're trying to do is get some of these people out, and they want their plan to come into fruition. Now we have a new administration coming in, and we'll see, here coming up, like what's going to happen next. But um, I know that a lot of people have been talking about the weather manipulation, that a lot of stuff that was going on for North Carolina and the lithium mines out there. Well, they want to mine lithium out there. And I know that the people refuse to give up their land for these rich people to come in and mine the lithium. And so they were denied access to their property. So they decided to um, do the weather manipulation and flush them out and get all those people out so they can have access to the land. And they've proven with the weather manipulation that they were seeding the clouds. So they were making it worse. So when you see stuff like this happen in Los Angeles, you got to ask yourself, like, what's going on here? Like, really, we had that horrible of winds. I can understand we have winds, but it's not making any sense. Like the way that was blowing, you could see that through people's houses that are up on the hill in Pacific Palisades. You could see the live footage of just regular citizens, like looking out the window, and you could see the winds like picking up so bad. And it's like, it feels like it looked manipulated. It just didn't even look real. You're like, this is something from a movie, like an apocalypse. Just crazy. One of my clients messaged me, and she said, "Hey, April," she was like, "Can you talk about what's going on in the Midwest with the snow? Because the spiritists and the people out there, the healers, are saying that the snow is fake, and it is. I do not believe it's real." They were talking about the smog. You hear about, not the smog, the
The
fog
fog?
that was moving. Yeah, people were testing it, and they were finding like heavy metals and some weird stuff in it. And then someone mentioned something about fungus at one point. People that got their air purifiers are turning them on, and they're finding
What
all.
do your spirits believe, though?
I believe that it is something that is um manipulated or orchestrated on purpose as like an experiment.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like
I haven't
test,
looked too
they're
much into it. I mean, I had seen the fog, like, it was happening here for weeks, but I don't know. I was just wondering.
it's an experiment. I'm waiting for someone to test it, like where they show it and they're testing it to prove that there's something in it. But my spirits are mentioning that there's something in it, like a chemical or in it, and then they said they're calling it an experiment. And then they're also trying to block the sun. They don't want the sun. They don't want us getting the sun rays, that type of thing. They've been working on this for some time. But I do believe the fog has something to do with a chemical. I'm waiting for someone to show up on TikTok to show me what's in it. But it feels like a chemical. And then Spirit called it, in quotations, an experiment. So, and the snow, I do not believe is all real. I think there's something a little manipulated with that, with them seeding the clouds and doing all this weird stuff. Um, and keep in mind, look how easy it is for them, excuse me, to do the chemtrails, right? They're just in a plane and just kind of cruising around, and they're dropping off all this crap into the air. And so, what makes us think that they wouldn't do this to us on purpose? You can't just like sit back and go, we're fine, but I don't want to say these things to put fear in anybody. I'm trying to say these things to get you guys to kind of look at something. Um, and, you know, I'm hoping as time goes on with this Pluto and Aquarius transit that we change the way we handle things with humanity. There's a cruelty here, and it needs to stop. Because there's people's lives are being affected, and it's affecting our health. And this is going to be a big, astrology wise, with the nodes changing. We're going to see a big change in healthcare. We're going to see a big change in the way we treat our health. And there's going to be a lot of talk about chemicals. And I talked about this in my 2025 predictions due to a lot of these transits with the astrology. And the chemicals are going to be up for discussion. And that includes chemtrails, and that includes this shit that we're witnessing right now. Now we have another problem. Spirit was talking about, now once the fires are all said and done, what do you do with the people that are breathing this shit in? Same thing happened with 9/11. I have clients who've lost their parents because they were there at the scene when 9/11 buildings went down, and the United States government didn't even compensate them shit for what happened to them for cleaning up the bodies, and they breathed all that in. And they couldn't get the cancer and all the stuff out of their lungs. They ended up dying. I have clients, I actually spoke to one of those clients today. It was one of their fathers that passed that was cleaning up the bodies at 9/11 when the buildings went down, and they breathed all that in. So what do you do for these people that can't breathe, that have asthma, and they're breathing all that in? So now that's the next set of problems that we have coming up after this. And then we have our elderly patients that have COPD and things like that. It's really bad. But yes, the fog, Spirit called it an experiment, and there is something with a chemical in it. I'm not sure, but it feels manipulated. And I'm waiting for some wild TikToker to tell me what the hell's in it. Because I know people are going out there and testing the snow. And I am going to put a question mark over the snow in the Midwest because there is something wrong with it. Yes. And I do believe there might be heavy metals or some kind of chemicals in it. I think it's worth a shot finding out what's in it. So this is what my spirits have said. And listen, everything that we're discussing today, do with the messages what you will, but this is what my spirits and my guides have explained to me, and my angels, um, as well as injecting some of the astrology that I just know offhand that I want to share with you. And this is not a coincidence that just didn't happen. The didn't just happen, you guys. I believe this was set up, and this was pre-planned in a very calculated move, because they have some plans that they want to do with the areas there here in Los Angeles, over there in Los Angeles, Pacific Palisades. And Spirit is saying, let's talk about the smart cities and the 15-minute cities, Um, they've been aiming for this for some time, and that's their goal, and they're going to keep at it until they get their way. So, but anyhow, my dear friends, thank you all for listening. This is what I got for the fires in Los Angeles. This is what my spirits have to say. Feel free to check me out on Instagram. I'm over there all the time. Say hello if you want. Or check out my website if you're interested in booking a reading with me at austraastandants.net. My name is April. My spirits and I together, once again, we are called Australia Standards. Thank you for listening to the Conspiracies podcast.